very much, Dave. Yeah, I'm Chris, and I'd like to talk to you about something that I found myself doing fairly recently, which is introducing PHPStan into a legacy code base. So a bit about the code base to start off with. It's what's known as inspection management software. It's not really important, but it's based in the oil and gas industry, so clients basically use this software to manage a process around testing oil and gas products in laboratories around the world. I think it's fair to describe it as a legacy system. It's a couple of decades old. I think it was based on Zen framework, although it's been so heavily modified over those 2 decades that it's pretty much unrecognizable. There's a lot of vanilla PHP in there. There's a lot of procedural PHP in there. There's a lot of custom stuff for all the database-facing classes, view stuff. It's not actually the biggest application that I've ever worked with. I think the main source directory is a couple of thousand files, about 500,000 lines of code. But it does share a lot of characteristics with other legacy projects that I've worked with, in that it doesn't really use any modern tooling. I'd say the code quality is pretty poor overall, and also it breaks a lot. Which is why I was interested in introducing PHPStan. So what is PHPStan? In case you don't know, it's a static analysis tool. Static analysis just means that it's able to evaluate your source code without actually executing it. And it can help you improve your code quality and find bugs in your source, hopefully before your clients do. It's also able to give you access to language features that aren't available in PHP core, things like generics and array shapes. And it comes with extensions for popular frameworks and libraries. So you've got custom rule sets for things like Laravel, Symfony, things like Doctrine. And also you're able to integrate it with your CI/CD pipeline. So essentially every time you build your application, you can run PHPStan to check that your code quality remains high. So the main goal for me really in introducing PHPStan to this project was to prevent new issues being introduced. I've only been working on the project for a few months, but even in that time I could see that there were several regressions introduced which really were, in my opinion, avoidable and could have been avoided if we were using a tool like PHPStan, so fairly rudimentary coding errors. So that's like the main driver really, and then also what I really want to do is to be able to incrementally improve the quality of that code base over time. So installing and running PHPStan, pretty straightforward. It's just installed via Composer, and then you run PHPStan analyze on the directories you're interested in, which are directories that contain your source code rather than, say, a vendor directory which doesn't, because you're interested in your code and not someone else's. So one of the features that PHPStan has that is particularly legacy friendly is rule levels. What rule levels allow you to do is to define how strict the tool is in analyzing your code. So you start at level 0, which is like the least strict, up to 10, which is very strict, or the most strict. So typically, if you're introducing into a legacy project that's likely to have lots of issues already, you're going to want to start at the lowest level, which is exactly what I did. So here you are. Here's my first run, running analyze using level 0 on the main source directory. So there's 1,292 PHP files, and it came up with 1,008 errors. And here's just like a sample, sample report. Sample of one of the errors, which is this sample report class. It's declaring a method called getData that was using a return type hint of array, but there was no return declaration, which seems like a bit of a problem. 1,008 errors seems like quite a lot to try and fix all in one go. Remember that my sort of primary goal here is to get the tool integrated into our CI pipeline to prevent new errors being introduced all the time. But we can only do that if we remove all of the existing errors, because otherwise every time we run our build it's going to error and it's going to stop us from shipping our application. Luckily, PHPStan comes with another feature which helps integrating it into legacy systems, which is the baseline. So basically what the baseline is, it's just a file that defines a list of all of the errors that are currently reported by the tool. So we can create a baseline file and then basically say to PHPStan, on the next run through, ignore all of these errors. So here's an example of what the file might look like. So it's declared in neon format, which is, I think it's essentially an extension of YAML. So you just end up with a long list of errors that are defined using this regular expression format. And then you just tell PHPStan to use all those definitions, and the next time you run analyze, it should ignore all of those errors. But in order to tell PHPStan to do so, you need to declare the baseline file within a config file. So here we're just saying, include the PHPStan baseline. You can also define other parameters in your config if you wish to set the levels and to define the directories that you're interested in analyzing. So that's the next thing that I did, just generating the baseline file, which is as simple as running the same command essentially, but with generate baseline as an option. So it's done the same thing. It's crunched through 1,292 files, and now it's come up with warning, baseline generated with 812 errors. Some errors could not be put into baseline. Okay. So let's just run analyze again now that we're using the baseline, and yeah, lo and behold, we still have 196 errors, which is interesting because I thought the whole point was that it would ignore all of our errors. So we still have some, including our original sample report error that we saw earlier on. So what's going on here? Basically, as I found out, PHPStan has decided, or I guess its makers have decided, that certain errors fall into a category which is essentially unignorable. So some errors are so egregious that it won't let you get away with them, basically, so you have no choice but to go through and fix them. So yeah, I had a fun day in the office, going through 196 errors and fixing them all, which is fun. But yeah, once I've burned through all the unignorable issues, run analyze again, level 0, and yeah, finally we get 0 errors. Yay! Which is great. So now that we've got a clean run, we can go ahead and integrate PHPStan into our CI pipeline. Just out of curiosity, I thought I'd look at, I wonder what happens if I now run at level 1. How many errors do we get now? 406, which I thought, not too bad, not too horrendous. I wonder what level 10 looks like. 37,500, yeah. That's a few more than I'd like to fix all in one go. And it's a bit of a wonder the application is actually serving production customers, really, but hey-ho. So yeah, just really briefly, integrating it into CI. So we use GitHub. It's really, really easy to do using GitHub Actions. So it's just a matter of creating this workflow file, and then we're basically saying here, for every pull request that's created against the main branch, we're going to run these steps, which is just to check out the pull request code, build our PHP environment, install our composer dependencies, and then, run PHPStan. So what that gives us is something like this. So it's basically a build step, which is PHPStan analysis. And so what that means from now on is that every time a developer raises a pull request against the main branch, PHPStan will run against that set of code, and if it finds that any new issues have been introduced, then it will fail the build, and that developer won't be able to merge their code until they go ahead and fix it. So that's pretty much it. Just wrap up some final steps. I should actually probably confess that this isn't merged into main on the project yet that I'm working with. We did quite a big deployment for a customer into production fairly recently. So we're in a stage that I think management would politely call hypercare. I think I'd probably call it firefighting, or just perpetual heart attack. But yeah, so the idea is hopefully within a few weeks, once we've burned through all those issues, I might get an opportunity to actually merge this stuff in. But a few more things that I really need to do, which is write some documentation around this, probably just add some notes to the project README so it doesn't surprise anyone. Communicate the change directly with the rest of the development team so we don't have a bunch of devs that are just angrily looking at random failed build steps and wondering why they can't merge their PRs in. And also I'd like to spin up a project to make sure that we are also striving towards a second goal, which is incrementally improving the quality of the code base. So I guess that'll be around creating tickets to start going through the level 0 baseline issues and actually carving out the time to do it within the team. And that's pretty much it.